Bonjour, mes amis! Welcome to Paris, the city of light, love, art, and culture. My family toured some of the classic attractions of the city, from the Eiffel Tower and Musée d'Orsay to a charming hotel, the Catacombs, and the Opera House. The first stop is the iconic Eiffel Tower, one of the city's best-known and loved structures. There was just one catch with our visit. So we are about to walk up the Eiffel Tower. We had planned to go to the Eiffel Tower and we wanted to go up it, and we missed the window for getting the elevator tickets. So, which is a thing that you can do easily. And instead of lining up at the bottom of the Eiffel Tower where you can line up and wait and try and get up otherwise, we decided we'd just buy the tickets to walk up the stairs. So we're gonna walk up the stairs. So wish us luck. It's one of the hottest days in Paris today, but luckily it's early enough that it's not that warm yet. So we'll see how it goes. Open generally from 9 a.m. to around midnight. You'll enter through one of the secure gates, and if you have a ticket already, it's much faster to get in. Buying tickets in advance is very highly recommended, unless you come first thing when it opens. Otherwise, the lines can be quite long. This is where we start the climb up the Eiffel Tower. Walking up the steps in the heat was a bit of a chore, but it wasn't that bad. And if you're moderately fit, it will be about 30 to 40 minutes total, up to the second level, depending on your speed. It's also slightly cheaper than elevator tickets. So what color is the Eiffel Tower? This is what it used to be. It's gone through many different colors. Imagine painting the entire Eiffel Tower. Like, that's crazy. A wild idea of painting the Eiffel Tower. If you look, that's what the Eiffel Tower stairs used to look like. The view from just the first level is so unique. I love how you can see the shadow of the tower, and the views just get better the higher you get. You can stop and relax on your way up or down with a cafe, bar, and other food on the first floor. And you can walk around the exterior to see views of the whole city. The Eiffel Tower was built for the 1889 World's Fair. At first, many Parisians and French people hated it. Some even believed that it couldn't be built, but it became a huge hit, especially with tourists. Fun fact, the tower took just 2 years, 2 months and 5 days to build, which was a historic achievement at the time. And not only is it an engineering marvel, it's also the beautiful symbol that now defines the city. Well, it was quite a walk. We did, I believe it's something like 325 steps is what they said it was to the top. So, not to the top, sorry, to the first floor. So we've gone up 325 and we're about to do the next 200 and something to get to the second level, which will be amazing. But look at the views here. It's pretty amazing. And there's a cafe here, there's a restaurant, a brasserie. So you can stop, relax. And honestly, the walk was, the walk up is not easy. I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, but it's not that bad. So if you want to get a little bit of a deal, and you don't mind a little bit of a walk, and you don't want to wait for elevators or wait in line to get tickets, if you pre-purchase the walking tickets, it's not bad. It's pretty cool, and you won't see views like this very many places. And I love this view in particular. It is so unique. All right, here we go. We're going up the second set of stairs. We were going to try and sneak up the elevator. I don't know. Maybe you can, but we didn't do it. So we're on our way up, which is, it's not nothing. There's a couple hundred steps ahead of us. So we'll if we did the first 300 and some, I'm sure we can do the next 200. Yeah, getting winded a little, but we're getting there. 650, 660, 668. Talking quickly about time, I'd suggest coming for 2 to 3 hours as a good amount of time to explore, sit, and enjoy the views, and soak in this amazing historic place. So we did it. We made it up to the second level. Right now we can't go any higher. You can't walk to the top, and the elevators right now are shut down to the top level, so you can't actually even get there. But I have to admit, for our trip, we're pretty happy to be at this level. It's an amazing view. It wasn't that many steps to get up here. I mean, it certainly was a trek, but once you get here, it's well worth it. And then at this level, it's neat, but you can go up one more level, which you see right here. And at that spot, you can see over these fences. But if you're at this level, you can just poke your phone right out through the fence. Just be careful. You might want to have I don't know, something, have your phone clipped to something maybe, unless you're really comfortable with this. But yeah, it's amazing. We haven't been here in I don't know how many years. I guess it's been over a decade since my wife and I have been here, when I proposed not far from here. So looking at the Eiffel Tower as it lit up. So we're looking forward to seeing the Eiffel Tower lit up. You'll see, looking up the side, you'll see the little pyramids. Those are the lights that glitter when it's nighttime, and it lights up every hour or so. So pretty cool. There's almost an ebb and flow to how busy it is in spots, but if you come at the right time, you can get it quieter. I think the earlier the day you come, the better. We're here at about noon. It's gotten fairly busy now. And you know, if you go up to the top of the second floor, the second platform, which you'll see behind me, that's the busy spot, because that's where people can actually see over the wall here. Whereas along this side here, it's a little quieter, maybe because you can't get as good photos, but it's a good spot to look around. You can kind of peek your phone out through the little grill here if you're careful. So the first level that you get to walking up, or by elevator if you end up taking the elevator, it's got a little cafe and a couple spots to stop and rest and eat. The brasserie is there. But then this level also has a little restaurant, little cafe thing, and some shops. So you can get your souvenirs up here and kind of take in the view. And there's some really cool views along here to see basically all of Paris. And it's one of the higher points you can get to around Paris to see all these amazing views. The monument has over 7 million visitors per year, and they estimate since 1899 there are over 300 million people that have visited the Eiffel Tower. It's worth noting how much busier it is now at 1:30. So when we arrived, I think it was 10, and you know, there were lines, but nothing like this. So obviously, arriving early, you're gonna get the quickest way up, the less fuss and all that stuff. There were no lines for anything, security, everything. We just walked straight through very quickly. So very cool. And we took the elevator down. So from either one or two, the platforms, you can take the elevator down even if you walked up, paid to walk up. But the line at level 2 to take the elevator down was quite huge when we went. So we walked down to 1, had a meal, and then by the time we got in the elevator, there was like no one on the elevator going down from 1. So kind of an interesting tip that you don't have to necessarily walk down. You can. Sometimes could be quicker if it's really busy, but it wasn't bad midday for us. You can also grab snacks and a bite to eat down at the base of the tower. And it's also worth noting that if you want to enjoy a stroll or a picnic, it's a great space all the way around this park around the Eiffel Tower. We went to the Louvre later in our visit, but this was our first trip to Musée d'Orsay, and it's a spectacular museum with an incredible collection of art in a former railway station. Inside, there's art from hundreds of legendary artists, including Monet, Van Gogh, Renoir, and stunning sculptures, including a version of the Statue of Liberty. The large central space features dozens of some of the most incredible sculptures, with alcoves filled with paintings and other art. We explored all the galleries, and one favorite spot that we found early on is the iconic clock window. A special exhibition on Toulouse-Lautrec was on, but the museum has so much incredible art, there's never a bad time to visit. Watch for Edward Manet's Lunch on the Grass, Gustave Courbet's The Origin of the World, Vincent van Gogh's Self-Portrait, Renoir's Bal du Moulin de la Galette, Degas' The Little 14-Year-Old Dancer, and many works by Auguste Rodin. Musée d'Orsay also has restaurants, including this one in a space that feels fit for a king, or at least a prince, with statues, chandeliers, and paintings on the ceilings. I love everything about this museum. It's one of the most beautiful places. I adore the use of frosted glass, the giant clock, and the view out over the art from the two sides. And many of the pieces are jaw-dropping, like the Gates of Hell by Rodin, or the way you can see the light through the stone in this mesmerizing sculpture. Plus, almost every room is an architectural beauty. It is amazing to step into this space. I have to say that Musée d'Orsay is one of the most unique art galleries. I mean, this space, it used to be a train station, which is something you kind of get the sense of once you walk in here and see it. I just can't get over the art of the building itself. And then once you walk around, seeing just the range of artists and what's here from, you know, some of the most amazing artists around the world. It's an amazing place. I love the Louvre for various reasons, but to step into this room and look around and like, it's hard to describe. It doesn't even capture that well in video. You have to kind of experience it stepping through the doors and seeing all the galleries and the unique spaces. It's very unique. Plan to spend at least 2 hours here to properly explore the galleries, but 4 or more hours would be way better, especially if you want to have time for lunch and take your time through the spaces. This is Sainte-Chapelle. Louis IX built this iconic high Gothic cathedral on Ile de la Cité as part of Paris's royal palace in the middle of the 13th century. It took just 7 years to build and features an awe-inspiring 1,113 stained glass panels. The lower room is magnificent, it's astonishing, but stepping into the royal chapel upstairs is jaw-dropping. The room is one of the most magnificent in Paris, and it's been beautifully cared for and preserved. At one point, the chapel housed 2 precious relics, the crown of thorns and a fragment of the true cross. Those relics have moved on since then, but the history and story of this cathedral is fascinating, and you can learn more with an audio guide when you visit. We stopped for a meal across the street at a quaint Paris cafe with a view of the street for people watching, and they had a good menu with croque madame and lots of other favorites. Since Ile de la Cité is central to so much of Paris, it's a great place to walk and explore from, so we walked to the 4th arrondissement, crossing on Pont au Change, catching the sunset and seeing some of the sights. Our hotel in Paris was the M Social Paris Hotel Opera while we were in the city, and it's one of our new favorite hotels in Paris for the location, the view, the atmosphere, and their classy vintage style suites. Featuring 109 newly refurbished rooms, a lobby bar, and a restaurant, it's a charming and chic hotel. We stayed in La Grande Suite that had a huge bathroom, king-size bed, 2 balconies, entry room with ample closets, and a huge living room with a table, couch, and one of the best views that I've ever had in Paris. The hotel is located just steps from the Palais Garnier and Galerie Lafayette. It's close to Metro, and they offer free Wi-Fi as well. They had the best staff, and we had an amazing stay. It's just such a charming and beautiful hotel to stay in. I seriously can't get over this hotel and this space. I knew it was going to be unique and special, and the location is amazing, but actually stepping into this space and then stepping out here, and all of a sudden you're out in the middle of Paris. Like, how amazing is this room? M Social Paris also has a fantastic breakfast buffet, and that includes pastries, fruit, eggs, juice, there's bacon and other meats, and there's so much cheese. And I love the restaurant's sunroom that feels like it's part of the whole street scene. Talking about transportation quickly, I love the Paris Metro. It is an easy way to get around the city for not a lot of money. Head on the subway, and then you look over and you're like, oh my god, only in Paris. How amazing is that? What a beautiful sculpture. The Paris Metro is a world-class transit system, and you can buy tickets or passes for most of the station entrances. A one-way trip was €210 in mid-2024, and you can buy day passes or packs of 10 tickets at a time. The Metro is incredibly expansive, it's quick and efficient, and trains come frequently. You may have to change trains on some routes, so just keep in mind that there can be a fair number of stairs up or down to get from train to train. Next up is the Catacombs of Paris. A warning now that this is a very unique experience, walking into what's effectively a tomb filled with the bones of millions of people. Under the streets of Paris's 14th arrondissement near Montparnasse, these tunnels hold the remains of over 6 million people. It's like stepping into a Gothic novel. The catacombs are both haunting and fascinating. You'll enter through what looks like an ordinary building, learn a little bit about the place and the history, and then descend down a staircase into a tunnel. It's about a 10-minute walk through the tunnels before you enter the resting place to millions of bones. When Paris was expanding in 1786, a number of cemeteries were emptied to make room for more buildings and streets, and the tunnels were consecrated ground so the dead could rest here. The bones are not just lying around either. Before opening for the public, the catacombs were organized and the bones were styled to create shapes and patterns. It's a darkly moving sight, and our daughter found it intense, but she was fascinated. The whole experience takes about an hour, although you can spend longer if you'd like, and like all museums, you'll then exit through the gift shop. I'm only sorry that I didn't buy a few of these iconic products, like the Catacombs 2 cat, or even this bag. And then you'll step out into a normal Parisian street that doesn't feel like it belongs above the catacombs. As classic places go, we had to show our daughter the home of the Phantom of the Opera, the one and only Palais Garnier. For culture and history lovers, this is one of the city's most beautiful buildings. Completed in 1875, the Great Paris Opera House is open for public visits and tours and hosts operas and major events throughout the year. If you can make the time, you should look at tickets to a show. Tickets are just €15 as a starting price and go up to €200. Every space in Palais Garnier is jaw-dropping. It is just a whole different era of class and sophistication and art. It is astonishing. And then stepping into the main theater space, it is just amazing. I even had the chance to see the backstage door open here where you can see right through into the production space, but everything is amazing. Just look at the chandelier. It is unbelievable. By far, though, I have to say my favorite space has to be the Grand Foyer. It is one of the most opulent, grandiose spaces I've ever stepped foot in. It's remarkable work of art and architecture in gold and lit by dozens of chandeliers. But it's also fascinating just stepping into the library with all the books that cover the history of opera and productions that have been in this space. I have to say too, in this central space, you need that perfect selfie at the foot of the stairs. It will make you feel like a king or a queen, I swear. Walking under the Louvre's iconic glass pyramid is an experience, and it's just a small part of what makes this one of the city's most visited attractions. The Louvre is the world's largest art museum, and there is so much to know before you arrive. First and foremost, though, it's best to go in with a plan and expect to see only a small fraction of the entire museum. The museum is so huge it would take you days to even glimpse all the art in every building, so we plan to see a few key highlights on our stop. When you plan your visit, the first thing to do is book your tickets ahead of time. Depending on the day and the time you visit, you can literally wait in lines for hours to get in and buy your tickets at the museum, and it's simple and quick to buy tickets online in advance. You'll just show your ticket codes when you arrive or print them out, and it makes it so much easier and quicker. And of course, you have to see the Mona Lisa. You really do. Just don't expect it to be quiet unless you arrive very early. The room is almost always quite full, but you can work your way up to the front to see her. She's a marvel, but the works of art in this museum are so much more grandiose than just the Mona Lisa, and I promise you, you are going to be amazed by things you never expected. There's the Venus de Milo, Winged Victory, Liberty leading the people. There's Psyche revived by Cupid's kiss, the Raft of the Medusa. There's a multitude of statues, paintings, and small works from around the world that are amazing. So the work is literally part of ancient history, and the buildings themselves are marvels too, including the chance to step into Napoleon's own apartments. But here's a peek outside. And this is why you need to get those tickets early and in advance, because you can wait so long in these lines just to get in through that central entrance. And there are other entrances that you can get in. Spaces like this are part of the reason that I do love the Louvre, and you need to explore and find them because there are beautiful spaces, not just seeing the iconic pictures, there are sculptures and so many other things to see. I would plan to visit for at least 4 hours if you want to get a good piece of Louvre experience into your life, but really, you could plan to be here for the day. 6 hours is probably a better bet, because then even stepping into the basement, you will see what is the fortress that dates back to the 12th and 13th century that is what was beneath this amazing structure. Down here you can also find the Egyptian relics, and there are pieces from all over the world spanning centuries around this museum. It is amazing how large this place is. Finally, I saved what I consider the best for last and one of my favorite pieces in the museum. Walking through the Greek Antiquities Hall, you'll see countless sculptures, but the piece de resistance is at the end. I see her. Did you catch a glimpse there? That is the Venus de Milo. I also adore Winged Victory, but there's something so stunning in this piece. The camera barely does this statue justice. Fun fact, the Louvre has over 380,000 objects on display, spanning 9 miles if you walk past each one. Good thing we're just hitting the highlights, right? For our lovers, be sure to explore the stores at the lower level exit for recreations and special mementos, and then walk by the iconic upside down pyramid. It's a great spot for photo, and so many people stop to put their hand in there. Naturally, at night, you also should find a good vantage spot and take in the Eiffel Tower as it lights up. The tower puts on a show every hour that lasts for 5 minutes, and it is beautiful. You have to see it in person. You can see it from countless parks, cafes, restaurants, and even bridges around Paris. Then, I scratched off a bucket list item for me, and we had dessert sitting at a little cafe on a quiet street, and it was amazing. The Arc de Triomphe is a must-see if you haven't seen it before, and it's also one of the quicker, cheaper national monuments to visit in the city. You'll pass through security and then walk about 284 steps up to the top, where you'll be rewarded with this incredible view. Because there are no skyscrapers or tall buildings anywhere near the old part of the city, you can see for miles in every direction, and as long as you're a little taller, you can look out over the railing too. For the shorter visitors, you can easily look between the railing bars as well though. The Arc de Triomphe even has a fantastic view of the Eiffel Tower, and inside you'll also find a gift shop so you can pick up a few souvenirs. Again, we booked tickets ahead for a specific time, and there was a short line we had to wait in for about 20 minutes before we walked up the stairs. And as you leave, be sure to check out this impressive statue. It's a duplicate of the statue on the outside of the structure, which should give you a good idea just how grandiose the sculptures are on the monument. Until 1938, the Arc de Triomphe was the tallest arch in the world. To me, this is the peak experience from Paris. The parks, the cafes, and restaurants offer some of the most authentic Parisian experiences, especially in the non-touristy areas. We did have one other important stop to make in Paris. Over a decade ago, my wife and I visited Paris for the first time. We had dinner steps from this spot in Trocadero, and as the tower sparkled, we stepped over to this spot and I proposed to her. So of course we had to go back. We spent a good hour here relaxing at the park. Our daughter played at the playground. It was a great stop to kind of relive the past. For some more history, we had to go to the Pantheon. It's another can't miss stop in Paris for a real dive into French history and one of the city's most somber, moving memorials. This is the resting place for all of France's most important, respected, and admired figures, from soldiers and politicians to scientists, humanitarians, great thinkers, and artists. On this level, you'll enter into this grand hall filled with art and monuments to great moments in French history, and even featuring the pendulum that works solely from the motion of the earth. In the crypts below, you'll walk among the celebrated dead with monuments and pieces of history among all the tombs. There are also screens where you can learn more about all the people who are entombed here. Just a few of the notable people include Voltaire, Victor Hugo, Marie and Pierre Curie, Louis Braille, and the building's architect, Jacques-Germain Soufflot. One of the big pieces of art that's featured here on the main floor, and for those who are big fans of history, is the National Convention. This is what signaled the end of the monarchy in France after the French Revolution. Art, frescoes, murals around the room highlight other important historical scenes from the Revolution, and they also often feature modern art here as well. If you end up walking around this area in Paris, even the streets are historic and beautiful. And this is actually part of Sorbonne University, which is really fascinating to look in on some of these courtyards. But I want to add that you can find more than just history in the streets of Paris. As someone who used to be a big fan of comic books, I couldn't help but highlight this store, but there's lots of everything around Paris. I just focused this video on some of the classic sites that I really do think you have to see. For our daughter's first trip to Paris, we really wanted to make sure that she saw some of these classic places and important parts of history, art, and culture. And we also walked through the Latin Quarter on the left bank, where you can find the touristy shopping and restaurant area, alongside more of the historic places as well. And of course, we stopped by Notre Dame. Even though it's still being rebuilt and will be a few years before it'll be fully open, you can stop outside and take a peek. I also have to share one more important museum from our trip because it's so unique, it's so beautiful, and it's also completely free. The Petit Palais is a beautiful architectural gem, and it is a must-stop if you're interested in art, especially if you just don't want to spend the money to go to some of the other art museums in the city. Just a few of the major artists featured here include Rembrandt, Cézanne, Modigliani, Rodin, and there are countless more. It was built in the 1900s for the World's Fair, and the museum is a favorite for its unique collections. It's generally open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. with late hours on Fridays and Saturdays until 8 p.m. About 2 hours is a good amount of time to explore, so you have some time to see all the galleries and maybe grab a snack and a coffee from the cafe. And while I appreciate the Louvre and I love Musée d'Orsay, I think the Petit Palais is a really incredible art gallery, and it might actually be my favorite. It's absolutely beautiful. The art is spectacular, and it feels like such a casual experience because there's not the same crowds often when you're here. The central courtyard and cafe and the views here are astonishing. I really recommend spending some time there, but I'm really blown away too by even the basement level of the Petit Palais, because there is so much incredible art in the space, including a number of Christian art pieces that is part of a whole collection, but there is so much amazing art here. You can definitely come here for the art, but you may end up staying for the cafe. I've heard this is a favorite among many people, considered a great secret cafe. On our way through Paris, we spotted a photo shoot at this Chanel location, and then we stopped inside La Madeleine church to see the amazing architecture and cool off for a moment and take in this incredible art and space. I love Paris for this, including so many free places you could explore like this. We also had to get some treats from Le Comptoir at the Ritz, Paris. The upscale shop sells the most decadent Madeleines, so we bought a few and then walked to the Tuileries Garden to enjoy this beautiful public space. Created by Catherine de Medici, the park was open to the public in 1667 after the French Revolution. It is a huge park at over 55 acres, and it's a photographer's dream. You can walk through the park to get to the Louvre, or just enjoy the beautiful green space with cafes and playgrounds and activities for kids. And there's lots of benches and grass and space to take a breath. You can just relax here. Watch for the little boats you can rent for kids. There's the playground, carousel, and there's trampolines you can rent time on as well. Finally, we had to say goodbye to our wonderful hotel. We grabbed our bags and headed to our next stop. I have to say thank you for putting up with my terrible French accent. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions about Paris or anything you want to know about our stops or places we went to. And as well, it would really help me if you can hit like or share or subscribe. It helps to make sure that I can make more videos. In my next video, it's going to be dedicated to Reims, the capital of the Champagne region in France, which is just a short way away from Paris. There we visited Taittinger to sample their champagne, stopped by the iconic church, and we went to the cellars of Veuve Clicquot. Stay tuned for that video and my video on Switzerland coming up soon. Until next time, au revoir mes amis!